Hello friends, how are you? Hope you are doing great. I, CA Kamakshi Khandelwal, welcome you all to my next webinar. Today I would be demonstrating how to file Form GSTR 3B. The government in its 17th GST Council meeting held on 18th June 2017 notified that for the first 2 months of GST implementation, that is for the months of July and August, tax would be payable on the basis of a simple return, that is Form GSTR 3B, containing the summary of the outward supplies and the inward supplies, which is to be filed by 20th of the succeeding month. However, the invoice-wise details to be filed in Form GSTR 1 would also have to be filed for the month of July and August. Form GSTR 1 for the month of July is to be filed latest by 5th September 2017. Form GSTR 2 is to be filed latest by 25th September 2017 and Form GSTR 3B for the month of August is to be filed by 20th September 2017. So let us understand how to fill this Form GSTR 3B. Firstly, you have to select the month as July for filing the return for the month of July and the year as 2017. Next, in point number 1, you have to write your GSTN number. As soon as you write your GSTN number, your legal name will be automatically populated. Then, in point number 3.1, the user has to provide the details of outward supplies and inward supplies liable to reverse charge. In point number A, under column 2, the user has to mention the total taxable value for outward taxable supplies other than 0 rated, nil rated and exempted, and its applicable tax rate under IGST, CGST, SGST and cess if any under column number 3, 4, 5 and 6 respectively. For the purpose of this point, the value of taxable supplies shall be equal to the value of invoices plus the value of debit notes minus the value of credit notes plus the value of advances received for which the invoices have not been issued in the same month minus the value of advances adjusted against the invoices. Details of advances as well as adjustment of the same against invoices to be adjusted and are not required to be shown separately in Form GSTR 3B. Also, the amendment in any details are to be adjusted and not to be shown separately in the form. So, there is no requirement to show any sort of adjustment separately, it has to be showed on a consolidated basis only. The taxable value to be shown in point number 2 shall be the total taxable outward supplies made to registered suppliers, unregistered suppliers, composition dealers and UIN holders. Then in next point B, the user has to provide the total taxable value in respect of 0 rated supplies, that is exports. If the user has executed a bond or a letter of undertaking, then there is no requirement to mention the tax amount as the export has been made without the payment of tax. If the user has not executed any bond or letter of undertaking, then the user has to mention the total IGST amount charged on the supplies in column number 3. In case of 0 rated supplies, there will not be any CGST or SGST liability as 0 rated supplies are treated as interstate supplies and hence only IGST shall be applicable. In point number C, the user has to mention the taxable value in the case of nil rated or exempt supplies. Then in point number D, the user has to mention the total taxable value in respect of supplies on which the tax has been paid under reverse charge, mentioning the respective taxes charged as IGST, CGST or SGST in the respective columns. In point number E, the user has to mention the value of any non-GST outward supplies. Now, in point number 3.2, the user has to show the details of interstate supplies made to unregistered persons, composition dealers and UIN holders along with the amount of IGST in column number 4 and the place of supply in column number 2 out of the taxable supplies shown in 3.1a above. So, only the bifurcation has to be given in this point. Next, in point number 4, the user has to declare the details of eligible input tax credit of IGST, CGST, SGST and cess in column number 2, 3, 4 and 5 respectively. In part A, the user has to mention the ITC available in respect of import of goods, import of services. Since imports are treated as interstate supplies, therefore, the credit of IGST would be available and cess, if any, applicable to the goods you have imported. In point number 3, the user has to specify the ITC applicable on inward supplies liable to reverse charge other than on imports, that is on domestic transactions. In case a user has opted for registration as ISD, that is input service distributor, then in point number 4, the user has to mention the ITC received from their ISD unit. Then in point number 5, the user has to specify all other ITC available on the receipt of the goods or service, that is ITC available on domestic procurement of the goods or service as well as the eligible input tax credit pertaining to the previous laws, that is excise, VAT, service tax, which is to be carried forward in the GST regime. Now, in point number B, the user has to specify the amount of ITC reversed in case the user has received any common input, capital good or input service for making both taxable as well as exempt supplies other than the zero rated supplies. Thereafter, the net ITC available would be calculated. Next, in point number D, the user has to specify the ineligible ITC like expenses on life insurance, rent-a-cab, etc. I hope I am clear till now. Next, now coming over to point number 5. In this point, the user has to specify the values of exempt, nil rated and non-GST inward supplies and also non-GST supplies like ATF, petrol, etc. received from the suppliers. In point number 6, the user has to mention the details of tax payable under IGST, CGST, SGST or UTGST and cess in column number 2 and the details of tax paid in column number 3 to 8. The tax can be paid either through TDS or TCS credit or through cash. The tax paid through ITC has to be shown in column number 3, 4, 5 and 6. Currently, TDS and TCS provisions have been deferred by the government. Therefore, no amount is required to be filled in column number 7. In column number 8, the user has to mention the amount of tax paid in cash for IGST, CGST, SGST or UTGST and cess respectively. If the user is also liable to pay any interest or penalty, then the same would be shown in column number 9 and 10. No information is required to be given in point number 6.2 as the provisions of TDS or TCS has been deferred by the government. Lastly, the user has to verify and sign the return and upload it on the portal. Hope you all have understood how to fill Form GSTR 3B for the months of July and August. In case if you have any queries, you can email me the same at my mail ID. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel CA Kamakshi Khandelwal for more videos on GST. Thank you. Have a nice day.